Hey, I'm Geeky Pastimes, and a really quick video just to talk about the newly announced anti-cheat for Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty Vanguard, Ricochet. So this is something that the Call of Duty Twitter account posted, and they put up a big blog all about it. It's a new trademark thing that I think they've set up. I'm not sure if there's another company running this, but it is a pretty hardcore set of kind of anti-cheat features. Some of it's like back-end stuff, so they talk about the server learning to recognize kind of behavior that's associated with cheating. Some of it's about account security and stuff like that. But the big thing that's going to grab headlines, the big thing that I think people want to pay attention to, is the kernel level driver that's going to be running whenever you're running Warzone. Now, this isn't coming with Vanguard's launch, this is coming with the Vanguard Warzone update. So whenever they add the new map to Warzone, that's when we're going to get this, and then it's going to be coming to Vanguard later on PC. Now, I wanted to make this video because while this is obviously a good thing in lots of ways, like people have complained about hacking in Warzone for a very long time, people have complained about cheating in Call of Duty, and it does ruin games, especially I think at the very highest level. Like, there's a lot of content creators who run into hackers all of the time, and that's a real issue. There are some things to be a bit concerned about with this kernel level anti-cheat, and I think this is why they've released this blog post. Like, this is why they've put all of these things out, of all of these videos and stuff like that. They've put a lot of information out there to try and reassure people who are maybe a little bit worried about it. So for anyone who doesn't know what it is, a kernel driver is something that runs on your PC, in this case while the game's running, and it has access to basically everything your PC's doing. So anything that any program on your PC is modifying, any information that's changing on your PC, anything like that, this program, this anti-cheat, will have access to. Now, obviously, first of all, there's a big privacy concern with that if you've got anything else going on your PC, anything that's saved, you know, like passwords that are saved, or any information that's going through browsers and things like that, you might be worried that, like, oh, they could potentially have access to that. And yeah, they could. Like, they could have access to basically anything that your computer's doing. The hope is that you can trust them not to mess around with that. And they've said in the blog post they are only going to be doing stuff to do with Call of Duty. They're only going to look at things that is directly affecting Call of Duty or Warzone, and they're not going to report back on absolutely anything else. Now, whether or not you trust Activision, whether or not you trust, you know, Sledgehammer or Infinity Ward or Raven or Treyarch or whoever, that's kind of got to be down to you. Personally, I don't have a massive problem with it. Like, I think it's probably going to be okay, but there's always that slight nagging worry that this is sort of giving them the keys to your house in sort of metaphorical terms. It's really giving them a lot of access to stuff that you're probably quite careful about guarding elsewhere on the internet. The other thing that makes this a tiny bit worrying is this isn't the first game to try and do this. So with Valorant, they also had an anti-cheat that was on a kernel level. They had a fairly significant difference about it, that it was running all of the time. So it wasn't just when you were running the game, it was constantly running in the background, and that caused all kinds of problems. This article from Engadget about it I thought was really interesting, because they talked about the idea that actually in 2013 an ESEA developer used software's kernel access to turn players' computers into a secret large-scale Bitcoin mining farm. The developer generated $4,000 off the backs of unsuspected players' GPUs before they were caught. Now, obviously, I don't expect Activision to do anything like that. Like, that would be utterly insane and absolute business suicide for them. But the point is more what's possible with this. The fact that by installing a kernel level anti-cheat, you are giving them a huge amount of access to your computer. You're giving them a lot of power over your computer, and you need to trust them. Now, aside from like whether or not they could control something, whether or not they could access something you don't want them to, the other big problem for a kernel level anti-cheat is that it messes with a lot of stuff on your PC. It's something that will often be detected by other antivirus software if you've got anything like that running on your PC. It's something that might cause conflicts with other things like, say, overlays and stuff like that, recording software. Sometimes when there's driver updates, sometimes there's unforeseen clashes. It kind of adds an extra layer of complexity. Like, every PC program has a chance to have conflicts of things, but something like this sort of anti-cheat always has the potential to cause new problems. So I wouldn't be surprised if, just at least for when it first launches, there to be maybe some performance performance problems, maybe some new crashes, maybe some problems when we have to update drivers, things like that. So kind of be prepared for that there's probably going to be some teething issues as there are with anything like this that's new. So in conclusion, obviously it's a brilliant thing that we're getting new anti-cheat. Hopefully this will stop a lot of cheaters. Hopefully this will prevent a lot of the cheating going on. But there are going to be problems. And also it's worth bearing in mind that, as I think some of the community managers and stuff like that have been tweeting about just now, this is a very complex problem with lots of money on both sides of the equation. There's a lot of money in cheating and Warzone. They're going to work extra hard to try and get around this, and I wouldn't expect this to completely eliminate cheating in Call of Duty. The people who make cheats invest a lot of time and money and energy, and there's very, very clever people working on them. I wouldn't be surprised if they find ways to get around some of this stuff, and then we kind of have the worst of both worlds if we end up with cheating and the sort of like quite intrusive anti-cheat software. So I didn't want to make a video that's too negative, but I think it's an interesting thing to consider. It's an interesting thing to throw into the discussion that, yes, more of an anti-cheat is going to be good, at least in the short term. It's going to get rid of a lot of cheats that currently exist. A lot of those aren't going to work anymore. But you have to be aware of the cost. You have to be aware of some of the problems that this could introduce. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you've got anything else to say, like I'm not a programmer, I might not know everything about this. So if you've got any other points for me to think about of this, please let me know in the comments below. I'd be really interested to hear what people have to say. Thank you very much and goodbye.